Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another exciting Wednesday night on the Paradigm Shift. Man, we have an epic, awesome what's the word for it? It's just so terrific. I don't even have words coming out of my mouth. Jesus, it's just the Montreal Screwjob. That's our topic for tonight. But before I can get into that, I got to bring in my guys, my best friends, my co-hosts. William H.D. Morgan, where you at, my man?
What's up, bro? How you doing, man?
Oh, I am fantastic. I don't even have words.
Let me tell y'all, this podcast tonight, this show tonight, ain't gonna be for the light of heart because my boy Gene's gonna get very upset. Brett, screw Brett. That's all I got to say.
Speaking of Gene, where the moose in at, baby?
Hey, it's tonight. It's the most infamous night. After 1,150 people saw us last week, we're just going to keep going, shooting straight for the skies. Stars are above us, and now we're going to have to bring in the other guy that likes to harp on me all the time, Mr. One and Only Natural Talent.
The Natural Talent. Tommy, bring it to the house.
Before we get started, just remember, Brett screwed Brett hard.
Exactly. Exactly. Say it again.
Brett screwed Brett.
Yeah.
The world heavyweight moose and champion will have something to say tonight. Don't worry.
Don't worry. I got every counter thing that's going to answer whatever you got to say there, Mr. Canadian.
And last but not least, the one man that makes this all possible for us, everyone, Josh.
What's up, boys? How we doing tonight?
Oh, just another day, man. Beautiful
day. Another day, another dollar.
I'm living the dream right now. I don't care what anybody says. I'm on screen with my favorite people. We're talking about our favorite thing in the world. It doesn't get much better than this.
Everybody in the chat, what's going on? Joshua, Jason, Rambo, how y'all doing tonight?
Real quick, guys, if you're in the chat, if you're watching us, make sure you like, follow, subscribe.
That last comment. There it is.
Oh, and I have one comment. Ben screwed Brett.
Oh, that's a different take altogether, cuz.
But let's before we get too hard into the main topic, we do have some other things to discuss first of all, as we normally do, and our favorite segment.
What's our question?
Will, that shit out there cracks me up every damn time.
Hey, shout out to my boy Ian Norton, J. Cole dance.
There you go.
J. Cole.
This week's fantasy question.
KW, what's up, bro?
As we are in Survivor Series month, not only is it Survivor Series month, it is 30 years of the man, the myth, the legend, the one and only Taker. So they released Brothers of Destruction this weekend, and there was a topic discussed in it where both Kane and Taker said that it should not have been Brett or Brock to beat him. They both agreed that it should have been Roman. So here is the question. Who should have ended Taker's Mania streak, and how should it end it? And when I say how is, should it have been a straight-up match? Should there have been a stipulation? All of it. So personally, I think I can't pick on this one. It should have either been Michaels or Triple H, personally. Those two matches that both of those men had with him, like one of them could have easily been. I realize it's sooner than people would have liked, and I agree with that too. I would have liked it gone longer, but out of everything that he did after those matches, nothing really stood up to me.
Well, I'll take this question right now because I already had mine. Don't have to tell me. Anybody who's ever asked me this, I've already said this. I think it should have been Bray Wyatt. You could have easily made Bray Wyatt the next Undertaker after doing it. Make him pass the torch. He's the guy that's doing it now, even with The Fiend. He has the right gimmick that works with what Undertaker was trying to pull off back then.
Well, that's another thing Taker said in that is that he thinks that The Fiend is definitely one of the strongest characters that they have right now. he wishes that he'd have known that they were kind of building this direction when they had their match, because he said they could have built him way better if they'd have known.
Yeah, but that's how I would have went with it. I would have went with Bray Wyatt at the time because it would have made him look strong, built. Do it. Even you could push it out for a whole year until that Mania, and you could have booked it great. And then that would have went on a high note, and it would have went great. And then you'd have been passing that streak on to Bray Wyatt, and then Bray Wyatt would have been maybe stuck in that gimmick a little bit, but it would have helped him, and it would have given him the right push.
Agree. Tommy.
Well, to elaborate on Bray Wyatt, here's my issue with Bray Wyatt. Don't y'all remember why he became the Fiend in the first place?
Because the gimmick wasn't working.
Exactly. It went stale. So that might have been a bad choice. Listen, I'm gonna say something that's very unpopular. Brock Lesnar was the guy to beat the Undertaker.
Oh.
If you're gonna look at it from this standpoint of who,
Mm-hmm.
then tell me. In that locker room, this is the same thing. The same thing Vince kind of pointed out to the Undertaker. In that locker room, who was believable could have really beat the Undertaker?
And supposedly they really did have this conversation when it was brought up. Is like, Taker, who can beat you? Who's strong enough to beat you? Truly. And he's not wrong.
The ex-UFC champ was the only person that looked strong enough in order to beat the Undertaker. Here's the thing. I kind of agree with Josh a little bit because those other two matches prior to that between Michaels and Triple H were freaking awesome. Yeah. The end of the era match, in my opinion, they could have fucking quit right there, and that would have been it. And I would have been happy. I'd have been happy. I wouldn't even had to have. They wouldn't even had to have a next one the next year, because the way it went out with those three standing at the top of the apron the way they did, all looking down, Undertaker in the middle and all that shit, or Triple H in the middle, he could hardly stand, and all that shit. Them carrying him out, that was the way to me it needed to end.
Yep. That was another part of it, though, too, is literally the match before that, Taker couldn't walk out of the ring, and then the next match, Triple H couldn't walk. Like, they both put all into both of those matches to the points where they had to be carried out of the ring.
What year was that? I
can't remember. It wasn't
that.
Well, okay, this is WrestleMania 25 right here, and this was Michaels and Taker's first match. And this was
the next one was 26.
09. That was 09.
Yeah.
So around that time, really, you didn't have no one. You didn't have no one.
2011.
Yeah,
there was no one in the locker room at that time that was even on that status.
Well, and then they still waited another 5 years after that to break it. But you figure Vince would have had to commit to at least another 5 years of the streak if Brock hadn't broke it that year. Like, he would have, because like Tommy said, there was no one remotely strong enough to pull off that win and it be believable.
And the way the people, even at the time, when the streak was broke, Roman was already leaving a sour taste in everyone's mind.
Yes.
If you would have turned around and did that, you would have buried freaking Roman because it would have instantly turned everyone on him. It would have been a bad storyline. No one would have went with that shit.
It was better to make him the second guy.
They would have said the same thing. Out of all the guys in the back, that's who y'all picked to beat the Undertaker. Really, what you have to realize is it's almost an impossible question, because people look at the Undertaker so high up in their top that there's really, like, even if you went back and almost dug people up that weren't even wrestling at the time, it would be hard to pick someone to beat him and break the streak.
What do you say there, Brandon or Will?
Go ahead, Will. What's your thoughts?
I say nobody. He should still be undefeated.
No.
He should still be undefeated. That man has given more to this business than anyone.
But again,
that's true.
I just think that for him to do everything he did for the business, to do everything for WWE, pretty much on a handshake when he first got there, I think he should still be undefeated. Look, I got issues with Brock. I got issues with Goldberg. I got issues with Roman. I just think that he should still be undefeated. If anyone deserves it, anybody deserves it, it will be him.
It was another thing he mentioned in that interview, though, is that that doesn't happen in wrestling.
Right.
Things like that don't continue. It's not like Mayweather, who retired undefeated. Like, it doesn't happen in wrestling, because especially with something like Taker's streak, because it only happened. I think it was Kane who said this. It happened very organically. I think he said it was like 11 wins before they realized that a streak had even been built.
Yeah.
And then they started building the lore around it, and it became such a WrestleMania lore. That was the thing that really killed me, is when it ended, like, it ended the Brock, like this thing that kind of WrestleMania revolved around for several years. It ended the Brock.
But my issue is, and this is the main reason why I say nobody. Brock didn't need it.
No. Oh, I agree with you.
Well, he didn't need it.
Well, he didn't need it. Well, he
didn't need it.
See, if you talk to Brock though, and Brock brings up a good point in this. Brock has said this in interviews many times. He was up for an extension. At that point, he kind of already burned, like, he'd done not necessarily burned bridges, but he'd done a lot in the business. He wasn't getting over with the fans as well as he needed. He knew that if he won that match, if he beat Taker, if he's the guy to beat Taker at Mania, that locks him in. They can never get rid of him. And he's right. He's right.
Let's be a little bit honest, though. Who really needed it? It wasn't Brock Lesnar, because Brock Lesnar could, at that point, walked away to go to UFC. Who needed it? It was Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman needed it because it put him on screen. Paul Heyman needed it because it made him be able to run storylines.
I disagree with that. Paul Heyman will always be on the screen.
Yeah.
He will find a way.
That story, I just don't see really how that story would connect back to Paul Heyman. Like, Paul Heyman don't need none of that at all. He's already certified.
And that's why I say nobody.
Paul can piss off Vince, and Vince will still bring him back.
But that's why I say nobody, because at the end of the day, if you get someone a win like that, it's because they need it to get over, and no one needed it. Nobody. And that's why.
To quote the great Terry Funk, it's always best when you retire from wrestling to go out on your back. That's the words of Terry Funk.
Yeah.
When you go out, you do not go out as a winner. You always go out as the winner.
On your back.
Because you got to remember, at some point in your career as a wrestler, it doesn't become about your wins. It becomes about building the next generation. Because if you don't, you kill this business.
But let me ask you,
we got to move on to Brandon's answer. Brandon's answer.
Oh, just a little old me here. It's no big deal.
If you say John Cena, I will literally throw this pen in the crack of your ass all over St. Louis.
I'll never.
I would love to see that.
I would never put over John Cena like that.
All right.
But on one hand, I agree with Will, just on the man's legacy, man.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you were going to make any exception to any unwritten bylaws, Taker is your guy, man. He is the definition of loyal.
Mm-hmm.
I could sit here and spit good things about him all night.
Yep.
But the question is, who should have retired him? Will's right. Nobody could. But if I had to have somebody, and absolutely, I would work a storyline and hear me out. Hear me out. Don't throw me to the wolves. Think power. I think Ron Simmons.
Ooh.
If you brought him back, incorporated some type of storyline, while Ron's healthy, and retired him that way, it be at the end of the match, like a mutual thing. Hey, bud, let's go to the back of the locker room.
Plus, it also helps that they're both WCW guys too.
Exactly.
I mean, you can think about that though. To do it right when Ron was healthy, you'd almost cut the streak in half.
Yeah.
Really,
still.
Really
would.
But we got to take our first commercial break, and then we'll come right back and move into the news. We'll be right back, guys.
There you go.
No, there ain't no stopping us. Fly without boarding pass. Couldn't catch me, I be moving fast. Call me a shooting star. Let 'em know who you are. Flying up in a bar. Wish on a star. Time to show 'em who's in charge. Call me a shooting star.
everyone. And in local news tonight, we got a car wreck down on 26th.
Actually, it's funny that you say that there's a car wreck because technically, if you think about it, there is a wreck with Selena Vega getting taken out of her contract due to the fact that she was on Twitch and she was on OnlyFans.
Bruh, I got a lot to say. Look,
wait, real quick. If you're in the chat, like, follow, subscribe, hit that like button, hit that heart button.
Yes.
Give us those reactions, guys. Help us in the Facebook algorithm.
Look, here's my thing about that. I don't blame her because when you look at how much money she was making on her contract, just her doing Twitch alone was paying her more money than she was getting from the E. Go back and look at it for a second. They get like $6, like $4.99, $6 per Twitch sub. So Twitch gets half of that. She had like 15K subscribers. So 15,000 times $3 is how much money? And then when you go back, she also did an OnlyFans. Understand this, people. She was charging $30 a month for OnlyFans, and people were paying it. Then on top of that, one photo, $500.
It's not anything that you can't find online.
Right. And five photos, $750. 10 photos, $1,000, and then on top of that, she was making her money through whatever she made with different people. Like if she sent somebody a picture, she could charge them $25 for that one picture, and then we ain't even talk about her donations or her Twitch.
I need a deluxe package.
I understand where she is coming from because she is making bank. Same thing with Paige. She is making bank. So I understand where these ladies are coming from.
I understand where Selena is coming from because she wasn't really a mainstream talent. She was basically a valet. She was a manager. And then she started getting into the ring. I get that. I totally get where she was coming from. But it's funny that you would mention that we mentioned this because the only people that are getting attacked are like your Raw and SmackDown talent. But you look over there in NXT, those guys are still going, still on Twitch, they're still doing their thing. Nobody's touching
I think
them.
that's because of Hunter, though, man.
Yeah, I was going to say it's a different thing. And as far as I've heard, there hasn't been an extension to NXT contracts having to be signed about this. Yep. WWE is now offering 2 different contracts, and y'all saw it because it was brought up in a group, one of our group messages. Like, you look at the hiring WWE's doing right now, they're looking to build their own Twitch channel. They're wanting the profits that the stars are making. And I'm sorry, like, I had this argument with someone the other day about, well, they get a contract. They don't need that money. Depending on where you're ranked in the WWE system, one, you got to remember, WWE superstars are always independent contractors. It is the way, other than AEW, it's the way the business works. It's been that way since territories. It's one of those things that's never changed. So they pay for their flight, their stay, their rental car, their food. They have no insurance through the company, nothing. All they get is a one-time-a-year payment for that contract or whatever the stipulation is in the contract. So that these stars then go and find other ways to make money. They're not bad-mouthing the company. They're not doing anything. I understand why WWE has an issue with Selena Vega opening an OnlyFans. It doesn't look good on them. Wow. But she was. It's because it is an adult site. It's the same thing as Sunny.
Not necessarily.
I understand. You're right. It's not. But it's looked at by a majority of popular culture as an adult site.
That's because it's been made out to what it could be.
Yeah.
Selena Vega, of course, she's sending pictures. Okay,
she's not doing anything but cosplaying though.
She's not posing nude.
Right.
She's not doing anything inappropriate. If anything, WWE should have capitalized that and give OnlyFans a better name.
Yeah.
Still
Well,
no.
and what it all comes down to is Vince not seeing the money for them getting
he's seeing the money.
No, but he's not seeing that Twitch money. He's not seeing that OnlyFans money. He's not seeing all that third-party money that these have got. And now he realizes that, and with their ratings and their sales on their products and stuff going down, he wants to capitalize on that money wherever he can.
But you gotta understand too. There's really not any house shows going on. At least not the way it was.
They're losing a lot of money on that.
So they're bleeding money. And they're bleeding money. But to take it out on the wrestlers like they are now is just uncalled for. That's just
I truly believe this is going to lead to other things as far as contract disputes and changing the whole independent contractor thing. Tommy, you didn't say anything. Hang on. Tommy didn't say anything on this subject. Hang on. I want Tommy's opinion.
Well, it's kind of because I see both sides of it. I see Vince's side of it, and I see Selena's side of it. Here's the thing. I understand that she probably don't make the high seven figures like the big boys do, and she ain't getting all this kind of stuff and stuff like that. But here's the thing. When you're under contract, Josh, you are under contract with that company. When that company tells you you can't do something and you still go out and on your own and break their rules, you put that company in a position where they have to make an example out of you.
Well,
if they're sitting there telling you that we're not going to allow this, you're under contract with them, which means you have to do basically what the hell they say as long as it involves their business and that name. So when she decided to take it upon herself to go start this OnlyFans page, now don't mean I agree with the bullshit, but this is just how it is. When you do that, that would be like me working at McDonald's and my manager telling me that I can't go over here and advertise inside of McDonald's. And I say, the hell with what y'all were saying, and then step over here and do it anyway, then me get fired and then me want to whine and cry about it. It just don't work that way. But here's also the thing also. I don't see the double standard of it, the fact that I grew up with WWE putting women in Playboy. And now I'm hearing because they started OnlyFans page, it's a big deal. Well, we all know what a perverted old man Vince is and how many sex scandals he's been caught up in and how many harassment scandals and whatever the case may be with WWE. Then you're going to sit here and all of a sudden act like you're holier than thou because this girl's having a OnlyFans page like this.
Where she's not showing anything inappropriate.
Well, no more than what some of the skimpy shit that they wear to the wrestling, because some of that shit, one sneezing and surprises out. If you get what I'm saying, you know what I'm saying. I mean,
every week, just about you get a girl that has some kind of wardrobe malfunction.
The thing about it is if it's like anywhere else. If you were working somewhere and you didn't like the way things were going on there, the best thing for you to do is work out your day's term, go somewhere else, and then do what you want to do there. You can't work underneath the company who has rules, and then you purposely break them and then play the innocent victim. It just can't work that way.
I don't think she's playing the innocent. Go ahead, Brandon. Go ahead.
Well, the only thing I was going to say is you're talking about her operating under contract. And this is where I'm fixing to play
devil's advocate,
if you will. Is it in her contract specifically saying in the social media clause that can't happen? Because for them, no, the date she signed, it is. So it's clearly it
was amended. It was amended.
That's what I was
okay, but she has to sign the amended. Contract.
And from what I've read, she never signed the amendment.
Thank you. That's my point. That's wrongful termination.
So
that's all I'm saying.
This is what I was going to say too, is that you knew when they announced this, somebody was going to be the person that tested it. And and I'm sorry, but Austin Creed is still on his Twitch. He's still doing his Twitch daily.
Yeah.
So obviously, it's not a huge deal for some stars, but it is for her.
And then let's also not forget she was the one that brought up the process or something that should happen with forming unions, being unionized. I think that's killed. I think that's what really put the nail in the coffin.
Well, me and Tommy had this discussion too. Unionization is not going to work in the wrestling business. It's not. It will not work. Like you can have the best way I see it working is basically what AEW's done. Their tier system. They have 4 tiers to pay their talent. It starts at buy appearances, and then it ends at what they call the Jericho tier, and that's money.
Well, as we're saying now, we gotta keep moving this bus forward.
We're moving on to another release talent. This one was actually last week, but we didn't get to cover it because it happened right after we were off there. Tony Chimmel was released from the WWE this week, or this past week. Their announcer, the Rated R Superstar.
Why?
So, our very own RYK has a little bit of a inside scoop on why he was let go. Let's check in with him.
Tony, come on in, pal. Listen, everybody tells me we need to have you do that big intro for Edge once we get the live crowds back in. And here at World Wrestling Entertainment, we're all about giving the fans what they want. So let's hear what that voice has these days. Yeah, all right, no problem. The Rated R Superstar Edge. Oh, wow, that didn't sound right at all. Try that again. Okay. The Rated R Superstar Edge. Jesus Christ, we're gonna have to do some work on that, huh, pal? What do you mean, Vince? I don't understand. Well, goddamn, pal, we gotta do something about that falsetto. You sound like a pubescent teen, like your balls haven't dropped yet. Remember, Edge is a Hall of Famer. He's a legend, a former champion. You gotta dig deep. You gotta come up with the best voice you have. The Rated R Superstar Edge. Give it to me, pal. Let's go. I get that. Okay, all right. The Rated R Superstar. God damn it, Tony, knock it off. That act isn't over. They're ribbing you, pal. All right, I've been doing sports entertainment for 3 generations. That's over 50 years. Listen to me. Nothing gets over unless I say it's over. Now I'm going to ask you for the last time to do it right. Okay. The Rated R No! That's it! Tony Schimmel, you're fired!
So I don't know how he gets these scoops. I have no idea. But Mr. RYK is that fly on the wall, eavesdropping in conversations.
Superstar.
We hate to hear that Mr. Tony Chimmel is gone, but it's probably by that
he'll
time.
show up he'll show up somewhere else. But
AEW's already got him signed.
AEW's already got him signed? Are you serious?
Look at this gullible guy. Oh, AEW's already got him signed.
I don't care. I'm not a fan of Chimmel, but I was surprised. Damn, that's quick.
And you know what the storyline is? About an out of touch old man who don't know what 2000 what a superstar looks like in 2020.
You know who signs him? Impact.
Hey man, that would be bad for Impact. I mean, like they need it.
I was gonna say Impact or MLW.
MLW's a good one too.
Would their restart having a guy like Chimmel to build their stars with his voice? I mean, he's got a good announced voice. I've always been a huge fan of Justin Roberts. Like that's always been. So moving on. So next piece of news. JTG is recommending Shad for the Warrior Award this year. He started a petition. I hope he gets it. This needs to happen. Like, man sacrificed his life for his child at the like Shad definitely deserves to be the Warrior Award, and I hope coincides with him being inducted into the Hall of Fame.
Vince won't do it. You know why Vince won't do it? Because it makes too much damn sense.
Probably.
It makes too much damn sense.
Vince ain't over that part anyway.
No.
He's not over that part anyway. Warrior's wife is.
Yeah.
Warrior's wife is the one that
and I hate to say it, she's a bigger dents than he is.
Yep, exactly. Good call.
So next piece of news: Matt Seidel has actually signed with AEW as of this week. He is now a full-time talent.
How do you feel about that, Mr. AEW?
I like Matt Seidel. I think he's probably more. They're hiring him more as a coach than on-screen talent. I think he'd be great for that. He's definitely coming. He has, and I've been watching a lot of Dark lately, and he's extended his game. He's really added. He's become more of a submission specialist.
Really?
Less like he's still high flyer, but he has some submissions in his repertoire, and it makes him more interesting. Like you could definitely see that he's getting older, and the high flying is kind of coming. He's not like Rob Van Dam, who's going to push the high flying until he literally falls out of the sky.
No, Matt Seidel's sort of changed his game up since he's been in Impact a lot, and he's added that ground mat game. But I think the reason why we're not going to be seeing Matt Seidel as much on screen in AEW is, that little mishap he had.
I mean, he's really come around from that. He's got a winning record with them. But I think you're going to see him more as a teacher. But
I think that'll extend his career a little bit too, as far as wrestling. That'll help him.
Next piece of news: MLW officially restarted as of tonight on YouTube, being sports. I gotta say, for a promotion that actually had to 100% shut down during COVID, they seemed to do it the best. They got their MLW pulp running, kind of ran some storylines during it, and now they're basically running this restart as a restart for the whole company.
So,
they brought in some names that have been involved with this company since the very beginning.
So they're only on YouTube, right?
No, they are on Pluto, YouTube. They're also on another one of those streaming services, BNN Sports. They actually got quite a few outlets that they're on. They did some building during this like Court Bauer was really doing some networking during COVID and really trying to get them plugged in to really make this restart the point where they break through. And like Rocky Romero is going to make his first American non-New Japan debut in like 5 years.
Wow.
So it's going to be an interesting thing. You got guys like Savio Vega. Like in MLW, if you haven't checked it out, you should. It's probably one of the more different wrestling programs out there because they highlight a little bit of everything. You get the ground and pound guys, the lucha, the high flying. You get a lot of submission guys. They're trying to build a women's division. Like it's cool.
That's where we got MLW for MJF and all them.
Yeah.
Some of the guys that we're seeing, and
Ryan Pillman Jr.
Yep.
I mean, a lot of the guys. I saw Airfox or Airwolf on AEW just a few weeks ago, and he's an MLW guy. So you're seeing a lot of them. But last bit of news. This one was weird, but Mr. Tommy asked me to add this one. I hope they aren't licking people, Tommy.
No, I don't think they're going to be licking.
The Bushwhackers have announced that as of 2021, they will be touring again. The first time in 20 years. I have no idea.
My gosh.
Hey, what the hell, man?
They might return just in time for the Rumble so they can get tossed out in 2 seconds.
Oh, God, no, please, Tommy, no.
Just to hear that Bushwhacker music one more time.
Let me tell you something, man. If someone could get around them and get something signed by both of them at the same time on that tour, because this would probably be the only one. They're already have aged pretty bad. So if you could get a signature of something of theirs now, I mean, I ain't saying it's ever going to be worth a ton of money or nothing, but if you could get this signature of their last tour, that would be awesome as hell. So
don't come to my kid licking my kid.
No, I don't think they'll be licking anybody with all this Corona shit going around. That's
if they lick someone, they're going to be in a lot of trouble.
I feel like they're up in age now. They're like, screw it, we're dying anyway.
You ever thought they sit around and he looks at him and goes, Luke, you know what I miss? What? The taste of sweat on my tongue.
There's nothing like licking a bald baby's head. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, my God.
So that does it for the news. We're going to take another quick commercial break and we'll be right back.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is RYK, Richard Bergeron, and I invite you to be part of a revolution. Watch as promo artists from around the world compete to be the top act in a medium of which you have never seen before. Get all the excitement of professional wrestling with the artistic interpretation of filmmaking and the raw emotion of a rap battle. It all comes together in a multimedia presentation like you have never, ever experienced. And I will be the voice of the movement. Join the Facebook group today and see Revolution for the first time ever this Sunday, November 15th, broadcasting live via StreamYard. The action begins at 2 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m.
We really got to get rid of that video. He's got a new one we need to load up. So
sorry, folks, we're experiencing some technical difficulties. Now, moving on.
Yeah, and it's November the 29th, not November 15th. That was the last video.
That was the best video we had to really explain what it was. I forgot he went into a time.
Wait a minute, Josh. We went into the wrestling news and didn't even play this.
I played the other one to do Will a favor.
That's the best one.
Yeah.
We're gonna give Will a heart attack, but I apologize about that, Tommy. I forgot that he went specific on the end. But you should check out the Revolution on the Revolution page. We are airing our next show on the 29th, not this coming Sunday. Right after Turkey Day, after you get nice and fat, come watch an awesome promo wrestling show.
I'm waiting on my ref shirt so I can make my debut.
All right,
it is that time.
Yeah, like nobody else.
So tonight, in our pay-per-view look back, we are discussing Survivor Series 97, specifically the Montreal Screwjob, but we are going to dive through the other matches just real quick. So, Mr. Gene, take us in.
So we had the Team Headbangers versus the Team Godwins. This was just a feud match. They were trying to build it. It wasn't that great of a match. The big BT is the miss that Billy Gunn did with the whole lay drop. The only good thing was the walkout when Billy Gunn was making fun of the guys in the ring. So that was about it. That match. Again, Team Godwins win, which were the New Age Outlaws that win that, and it was just to furthermore promote them into that whole DX. This is where the DX is starting to build. This was all the backstory to all that.
I actually have one of the Headbangers on my Facebook.
Oh, cool.
So do we want to rate the matches?
We can do that. So I did watch this match. I give this 0.5.
F.
Elf.
Okay, what is our scale here, guys?
I was going off of Dave Meltzer like star scale.
I give it a K, man.
K. It's a K. All right.
Give it a J and a K.
Yeah, there you go.
1 through 5 stars. I'm gonna say 1.
I gotta give it a 1. I'll give it a 1.
I can't give it a 1 just because it's got the Headbangers and the New Age Outlaws in it. So I'll give it a 2 star. That's what as far as we'll go.
I'll give it a 1.
And I would agree with the 1.
Next match, Truth Commission versus the DOA. Personally, the best part of this match was DOA's entrance.
Actually, this was the debut for Killer Kurgan, pretty much because he was the anticipus or the whole focus of this whole match. But yeah, it was pretty much a squash match just to show off Killer Kurgan.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
On this one, I'd rate this a 1 as well.
Not even. I'd give it a 0.5, a half a star.
Facebook user, please sign in up top so you can see who you are.
Tommy, what would you rate that one?
Oh man, same thing, man. It's hard. Like we've talked before, some of these matches, if you would have asked me this 15 years ago, I probably might have gave it a better rating, man. But it's just a lot of matches just don't hold water over the years.
I mean, there's very few wrestling matches that you can really say age well.
Mm-hmm.
Wrestling changes with the way the culture changes. So, like after 5-6 years, rarely does a match hold up like it used to. Mm-hmm. And I'm talking like this, like Montreal Screwjob, just because of everything that goes with it, holds up. I would say Rock and Austin holds up, but like not rarely do you have a match that holds up 10, 15, 20 years later.
The next match to this was the Team United States versus Team Canada. The big key highlight here is it was the debut match for Steve Blackman for being on Team United States with Vader, Goldust, and
Steve Blackman
was Anne Murray on Team Canada?
No, actually, no. Anne Murray was not. It was Jim.
She was a special guest
British Bulldog,
wasn't she? The British Bulldog.
British Bulldog and Phyllis and
don't do that to Steve Blackman. You know he was awesome with the kendo stick.
I'm sorry.
This is pre-kendo stick Steve Blackman. This is.
I'm not going to get into a whole thing, but Steve Blackman, period, always 100% bored me. Like I just found the man boring. Like he was like the poor. Like to me, he was like the poor man's Ken Shamrock. Like I felt like he was just like trying to be Ken Shamrock, but he wasn't quite Ken Shamrock level. And I am a Ken Shamrock to this day. I am still a Ken Shamrock. Mark.
The only match I really remember with Steve Blackman that was ever worth the shit was the one he had with Shane.
Yes.
Oh yeah,
yes.
That was good. That was good.
The only match I really remember other than that one is the match he had with Shamrock, and Shamrock whooped his ass.
He did.
So again, it was actually Team Canada that wins the match due to the fact that they pretty much it was Bulldog that whacks Big Van Vader with the ring bell.
And where you think the ring bell came from? Anne Murray.
Anne Murray.
That bitch Anne Murray slid it in the ring when
Exactly.
So that's who won that one. It was a breakdown. It was pretty much the beginning of most of these guys' character. It was the beginning of Mark Marrow and the Sable split. It was the beginning of Goldust doing the whole split from Melina. So he's doing this whole Prince of, you know what I mean? So it was a match where it was just creating gimmicks, pretty much.
Next match. Kane with Paul Bearer versus Mankind.
This one was actually really good. The promo before it with Mankind pretty much talking to Paul Bearer, saying, you know, you should have looked at me. Who's the pebble now? That was a phenomenal promo of itself. This is where the pay-per-view starts picking up.
Before we move on to our next one, I do want to take another commercial break, and we'll be right back.
Okay.
You know, if I never watched the podcast, I could just listen to the intro.
I gotta say, Tommy's probably got the best intro music.
That's the anthem.
And it's completely copyrighted.
That's the anthem. I told you earlier. That's the anthem.
I don't know how the hell that band ever got signed.
Yeah,
I know. Like that music just makes me want to rock every time.
They're on YouTube. They're on YouTube Music. I looked them up. They're on YouTube Music.
Yep.
So next match, my boy.
It was
Ken
the
Shamrock
Nation versus Ken Shamrock, Ahmed Johnson, and the Legion of Doom. This was actually not too bad. This is where.
I'm sorry. There's only one. This was I would give this. I'm going to give my rating. I would have given this a 4 stars. What brings it down to 3? Ahmed Johnson.
Yep.
I hate that man.
Yep.
I hate him. He's a terrible worker.
Yep.
He's so stiff. I hate him.
And then every time you turn around, he was always getting hurt. I mean, he was getting hurt in the ring. He was getting hurt. Hey, I was scared to play him on the games. You hit the start button, that motherfucker hurt.
Well, the greatest part of this whole match is to watch Ron Simmons actually wail on his ass.
Yeah. This is basically where the feud between Ken Shamrock and The Rock really starts off. This is where it picks up. This is where you're creating some of the Attitude Era. You're booking your Attitude Era. It's pretty much where it's starting, is right here. It was a good match overall, and I agree. Once again, it was Shamrock who gets the win over The Rock. Made some tap out due to the ankle lock. It was actually pretty good.
And it's kind of funny. Those guys are best friends today.
Yep.
So y'all like to give me shit a lot for me saying, "Oh, that guy's a world champion." That guy. Do you think Shamrock should have held the world title at some point?
Yep.
Nope.
Thank you, Tommy.
Nope. No, and all the reason why I say he shouldn't have, because I really don't think he needed it to get over.
I agree. He didn't. He got over, but I mean, he held the world title in Impact. He
held everything else almost in WWE.
He did, but I think he deserved a world title run.
Josh, you gave it a 4-star because of Ahmed Johnson. I'm gonna give it a 4-star because of Ken Shamrock. I can't stand the guy.
I'm a mark for him.
I love Ken.
I don't like him. I was never a fan of him in UFC. I used to love watching him get his ass kicked.
But I wasn't a fan of him in UFC.
As far as a guy who walked in and never asked to be handed nothing in the business, and he literally earned everything that he needed to get. Yeah. And for someone who thought that Shamrock would never last in this business, they always feared that he would. It was just like a little part-time gig. He was like how the Beast did it, where he just where Dan Severn just jumped over for a little while, then kind of jumped out of it for a minute. Where Shamrock's been dedicated to the craft for a long ass time. Well, and dude was always good in the ring. He deserved maybe not a huge title run, but a small one, yes. He's one of the many guys that I thought that they were stupid for never re-signing years down the road after he left to bring him back.
And then he was exactly what Jim Ross called him, catches you can style wrestling.
Yeah. Well, and like you said, Tommy, like he wasn't always the greatest at everything, but he worked so hard to
not get a talker.
You didn't put him with someone who could talk. Don't give the man a mic. Still to this day, when they give him a mic,
a '90s model Shamrock with a 2000 model Paul Heyman.
That would work.
Because I mean, they did that in Impact. They give him a mic a lot in Impact now, and I'm like, why do y'all constantly give this man a mic?
Don't let him talk.
But just to be the tough guy who can go in there and like he's gonna whoop some.
Well, it's like The Rock said, he was the perfect tough guy baby face that they needed to put against the heel ass Rock at that time. It was perfect.
Yeah.
And it got Rock over. It made Rock better. It made Rock the leader of the Nation of Domination. So if you didn't have that,
and another thing that a lot of people I don't think give him credit for, if Ken Shamrock never comes to WWE from UFC, we don't get all these Ultimate Fighters that we end up coming over later on. Like you would have never probably even got a Ronda Rousey. You never would have probably even got a lot of these other guys thinking about coming over.
They paved that way.
Okay with that.
I mean, there are some good ones that have made that. There are a couple of good ones that have made that jump.
Moving on.
But we do got to move on.
Another reason why I don't like Ahmed Johnson was for the crap people in WCW, the New Harlem Heat, the one that sucked in WCW. That's why another reason why I hate Ahmed Johnson.
Where you talk about Shamrock having a love for this business, and people used to say that he didn't do honor to the business. He's shown that he brings honor. He respects the business. Then you got people who are supposedly all about this business, like Ahmed Johnson, who shit on it. Yep. Pardon my language. But moving on, Stone Cold versus Owen Hart Intercontinental Championship.
This was actually really, really good because this is Stone Cold had just got over the neck injury. He had just been coming back from SummerSlam. Owen's been playing this up with the T-shirt, Owen 316. I just broke your neck. So there's all this feud and hatred. This is where really Stone Cold finds the brawler style of Stone Cold. We start seeing that, less of the in-ring high flyer Hollywood blonde Stone Cold. You know what I mean?
And like we discussed before the show, this is right after Austin 316. He had just won the King of the Ring. So he's just coming into his own as Austin. Yeah. They're just about to start the Vince McMahon storylines.
I ended up being an Owen Hart guy a little bit later on. I mean, I was a little bit before then, but
you go back
I hated his ass for the way he dropped Austin on his neck. For a long time. I never got over that with him. And then they sold it as a gimmick and put it on a T-shirt, and that made me, which they knew exactly what they were doing because they had me hating the hell out of Owen Hart.
Oh man, I agree with you, Tommy, because I despised him. But you go back and you watch that storyline now; they did such a good job. Woo! I love how they built it. I love how they built it together.
I feel the love as being a heel in this room because I didn't get that type of heat from everybody. So
it was all your
fault. Knows how to sell it great.
It was all your fault, Gene.
But we have to move on to the topic of the night, and that is Shawn Michaels versus Bret Hart, WWF World Heavyweight Championship, the Montreal Screwjob.
Whose fault is it, Tommy?
Whose fault
is it, Tommy?
It's Bret screwed Bret Hart.
But so I'm going to let the Bret screwed Bret people go first, and then I'll go into why I think Vince is more guilty than people say.
Okay, so I'm going to give you a little bit of the interesting backstory. This is, for me, this is where I feel this is where the Attitude Era really jumps off because after the Montreal Screwjob happens, Bret leaves the company. Now they put everything on Austin and Vince McMahon's shoulders. They create the next night the Bret screwed Bret, and they start that angle. This is the antithesis of where you get the Attitude Era really goes off. Do I feel we all know the deal? Bret had the 60-day, the last 60 days of his clause that he could write his own angle. He wanted to write the angle of him not losing to Montreal, and then in Ottawa the next night handing the title over. They were all leery that would not happen. I say Triple H and Vince, basically look at each other and go, he may not play ball and do the thing that everybody's supposed to do is when you're leaving, you drop the belt, you pass it over to the next person. They were scared of that, and that's why they cut the way they did. Everybody can say what they want. That's how it is.
You gotta play ball though. You have to do business the right way. Yep. And I don't care how great Bret Hart is, nobody is above the W. And I'm just
hear Bret Hart tell it he's a god.
I'll give you this. The man is way full of himself. He thinks he is like the end all be all of professional wrestling.
It's one thing to portray a gimmick. It's another way to. It's another thing to live it.
He believes he is the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be. He believes that 100%.
By a long shot.
I agree.
The thing about I think the way that I think you have to look at this is you have to look at the people who were on the outside and not listen to either Shawn or Bret on it. And when you listen to the people on the outside, the one thing that they have always said about both of them that always made this story stand out is both of them were egotistic maniacs. Both of them whined. Both of them cried when they didn't get their way. It didn't matter if it was Bret or if it was them. I get the angle of the point that Bret was upset that he didn't want. Okay, listen, Bret has that 80-70 wrestling mortality. That's how he thinks. We're in the 90s at this point. So he's still thinking old school ways. Okay. He said he didn't want to drop it to Shawn because Shawn wouldn't show him that same respect back because that's what Shawn told him. Shawn said, I would never do the same thing for you. Even if it come to an injury, I might injure you. Shawn being arrogant, cocky. Shawn was probably high that day and didn't even remember saying that shit. Let's just be real about that.
Shawn has said that during this whole thing, he was stoned out of his head.
Yeah, he was thrown out of his head. Brett loves to sell this angle that he was the poor innocent victim and Sean was the arrogant, egotistic prima donna, all this bullshit.
He
can't sell it that way.
No,
whether he wanted to drop it to Sean or not. Here's the thing: if you're leaving the fucking company, what difference did it make who the hell you dropped it to? Exactly. You're not going to be there anyway.
Exactly.
That's right.
You're not going to be there anyway.
But you look at it like I looked at it from just outside looking in, watching the match. You look at the reaction Sean gives Vince when this is going on. Sean doesn't know what the hell's going on.
Bullshit.
He grabs the belt.
No, that's some bullshit.
Bullshit.
That's bullshit.
I agree with that. I agree on that.
Sean knows.
Yeah.
Sean knew exactly what he was doing.
Yep.
But he played it off very good at that moment. You look at that moment, everything goes down.
Getting out of there.
Yeah. He looks at him like, what the hell's going on? Triple H tells him, don't grab the title. They grab the title. They run him out.
That was all Sean trying to be a good actor. That's all that
was.
If that was the case, if he had no idea about that, then why the hell did he put Brett Sharpshooter on him? Because that was something that Sean would have never done in a match. And even what's so bad, this is where I have to kind of take up for Brett a little bit here. This is the guy that you don't even know how to put a damn sharpshooter on. Brett had to correct the sharpshooter while he was trying to put it on him. So, I mean, it's basically an idea of, like I said, it's egotistic on both sides. I don't blame Vince McMahon doing it. I would have screwed his ass too. When you come to me, when I made you something and you wasn't nothing but just a little bitty pin shit up in Canada, I understand who your daddy is. That's another Brett's problem. His name. He thinks because of who his daddy is that he should get his way about everything in the business. He was trained by the best man ever. Look, I give Stu Hart all the credit in the world. That's probably one of the best trainers you could have been trained by. But at the end of the day, Brett, Owen was always better than you was. And I don't give a damn what he says.
I'm
sorry. If Owen hadn't have passed, Owen would have been a bigger name.
Owen would have smashed his accomplishments. Owen
would have been a champion. Owen would have probably, right now, we'd be talking about Owen Hart retiring, being one of the best WWE wrestlers ever.
And the main reason why I think Vince did that, I'm going to take it back a little bit further. Don't forget what Alundra Blaze did.
Well, that's what I was going to...
That was the reason. That was some of the main reason behind that, was that they were worried that was going to happen again, that Eric Bischoff was going to get him to throw it in the trash.
That was the only way where I was going to stick up for Vince, was that just because he had it happen with Alundra, she had taken the title and on national television, thrown it in the trash. That's the only reason I understand Vince did what he needed to do to protect his brand. All of us would do the same thing for this brand.
But Brett, Brett Seaman said, and I'm taking it with a grain of salt, that he had no deals with WCW at that time. He had no plans until he got screwed. Do y'all think that's true?
Nope.
I don't know.
Actually, no, that's not true.
I think
that is not true.
When that happened and everybody's trashing the arena, he then wrote like an air letters WCW. Yeah. That was him. That's actually saying, okay, I'm going over there to play ball.
It was in the air. He had not signed the contract yet, but they knew he was leaving for WCW. Now the thing is Brett had promised Vince that he would give up the title the next night on Raw. He just did not want to do it in Montreal. Yeah. He did not want to do it in his hometown.
What the fucking?
Well, no, he didn't want to. He didn't want to do it in Montreal because Montreal was where he was drawing the most money.
It matters.
But
Brett really actually believed he was a world champion.
Yeah.
And he really believed that he
it wasn't even just that. It wasn't even just that. He thought he is a god in Canada. And he thought losing in Montreal, where he pulls the most money every time he's there, is going to kill his god status in Canada.
To be completely honest, the contract between WCW and Bret Hart was also helped by Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon helped him negotiate his contract beforehand. Vince knew he was leaving. Bret knew he was leaving. Everybody in that locker room knew he was leaving.
And another way to take it for Vince here is this has been proven a bunch of times, and even Brett has said it himself, and it's been said by a bunch of other people. Vince McMahon went to Bret Hart with $5 to $8 different scenarios how that Survivor Series could have ended, and Brett told him no for every damn one of them.
Because it's been said many times, all Brett wanted in that one was to come out strong.
Like, I mean, here's the thing: you don't get to tell the boss how you're going to drop a title. It don't work that way. He was wanting to drop it to Taker, and then Taker go drop it to Shawn.
He just did not want to drop it to Shawn.
It don't matter. You work for that company.
Yeah.
If they say drop the belt, you drop the belt. He should know that, being in the business as long as he has. That's the way it works.
Well,
you want to do it or you don't.
Look, go all the way back to WrestleMania 9 in Caesar's Palace, and they screwed Brett over with Hulk Hogan, and Brett played ball. Do you know what I mean?
Well, out of all fairness, Brett is not the only person that got screwed over by Hulk Hogan.
Hulk Hogan, no.
I mean,
True that.
You look at everybody on the TNA roster from 09 to like 12. They all got screwed by
All got screwed over. Every last one of them got screwed.
But
at the end of the day, at the very end of the day, Brett's idea was he wanted to go out on a high note, being on top. Well, as we all just talked about it, you can't go out on top. You go out on your back and you pass that torch over. That's always how the business was. Up to that point, that's how it was done. That's how business was done.
He ain't the Undertaker though. He didn't deserve that.
Let me ask you this. Had Vince McMahon been willing to play ball and let him drop it the next night on Raw, how and what major way would that have changed the business?
Oh, the Attitude Era would not be the way it was. It wouldn't have had that attitude feel behind it.
It wouldn't have had that spark of the It made, and for that moment, like, no one could tell, is this real? Is this fake? Like, it's just one of those wrestling moments that kayfabe really.
There is a lot of workers who say it was bullshit, that it's all a work. It was all a work, and they played all three of them played all of us, and they're still playing this about it.
Exactly. Yeah. So I mean, it's one of the. It's very rare in wrestling where kayfabe and real life just match up perfectly, and you just can't tell.
Here's my thing, and that's kind of where I was going with it, Tommy. Was it years? It was like what, 5-6 years later, he's inducting Owen into the Hall of Fame in WWE.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, if I got screwed and I'm preaching it to the world, why would I come back to the company, even though I'm inducting? Well, were they really brothers or they was cousins, right?
Cousins.
Yeah. So even if it's my cousin, I'm not coming back to the company that screwed me in such a major way. You know what I mean? Like,
well, and supposedly he has more of a feud with Owen's wife now than he does with the company that screwed him.
I've heard that too.
But
well, out of all fairness, the Bulldog's wife and Owen's wife talks way too damn much and puts their opinion and stuff.
Oh, they do.
At the end of the day,
I do feel that could be a whole nother conversation about how WWE handled Owen. But
at the end of the day, this single pay-per-view helps create the jump-off point for the Attitude Era, and it creates the Vince McMahon gimmick, because the next night we get the infamous promo, Brett screwed Brett, and that's how we get the Vince McMahon we know today. So if you go back and change it, like Brandon had said, if you go back and change it, you don't get that.
Yeah. So
I want to get our final opinions on this and the whole pay-per-view, but we're going to take our last commercial break and we'll be right back. All right, so I'm going to break it up into two. First, the entire pay-per-view, star rating 1 to 5. Will.
3.
Tommy.
What year? Am I looking at this star rating from the year that it come out, or am I looking at the star rating from 2020?
Okay. Oh, that's tough. We all know it's going to be. Go off of what your childhood self would have rated this.
Oh, I would have rated a 5. Well, my childhood would have rated it like a 5 because I thought all kinds of pay-per-views back then were great. They were trash. But when you look at it today, other than the Attitude Era pop that you got from it, if you take that away from it, the whole pay-per-view was trash. Just about the whole pay-per-view, except for maybe Mankind and Kane. The whole pay-per-view was trash because even that was a trashy thing the way it ended. So it's like, to break up one more thing real quick, like we were talking about, it might be a work. Don't you remember when they did the interview and they asked Scott Hall about it? Mm-hmm. Hey, you really got to listen to what because Scott knows what he's talking about. Why the hell would they pan over and show Brett writing WCW on the screen and then pan over to show the Luke? He's like, get those close up at the Loogie and Vince's face. Like, that everybody in the back knows that this ain't part of the work. Why would they allow the cameras to turn and point at all this shit? That's why it almost makes you feel like it might be a work.
Well, and in the way they worked it, you figure Brett's been away from the company for like 10 years. They bring him back. They put the United States title on him. Like, they made a huge deal of him and Vince shaking hands, and then a huge deal of him and Sean like having their face-to-face and all that shit.
Well, I remember all that. To me, at the end of the day, it's all about money, regardless of what Brett tried to say, because when Brett asked him, what do you got for me in the future, when they were talking about his contract of what to do, he said, basically, it was just 2 years of me jobbing or me working the mid-card. But that's what he claimed it was about, but it was really about the money. It's because he couldn't pay him that big contract he offered him.
Yeah, because he went and jobbed and did the mid-card at WCW. He just got money for it.
Right.
That's all it was.
They didn't use him, and they didn't use him right away. They did not use him right away.
Oh, they killed his career.
They killed his career. The best thing, and Brett has went back and said this, he should have stayed in WWE. He should have.
He should have took the pay cut and shut his mouth.
He would have been better for his career to stay in WWE. He'd have probably held another title, one more, maybe 2 more times.
If he would have stayed in WWE, he never would have met Goldberg.
I mean, there's that too. And
there's also the argument might have said if he was in WWE, he wouldn't let Owen do that ridiculous stunt that Owen did.
Yeah, that's
right. He would have talked his ass out of it.
Yeah,
that's crazy, man. Don't do that shit.
But Gene,
I would have this. I have to rate this at the whole pay-per-view to me right now is like a 2 or 3 at best. Wow. When I was a kid, I would go, 100%. This is a 5. This is even a 6 because, at that point it was, and I'll get to it. When I was a kid, Bret Hart was, I'm a Canadian, so Bret Hart was our thing, right? You screwed Bret. This is, we had emotion at the time when I was a kid. Looking back on it as an adult, it's a 2 to 3 star match or whole pay per view because it was this was the anticipus to get us to the Attitude Era.
Don't forget, it also set up for Who's Your Daddy, Montreal?
Oh yeah!
When he hit Brett's music and the crowd popped so big and it wasn't Brett, he said, "Who's Your Daddy, Montreal?"
But before we move on, so tonight I also was hoping to discuss Taker. Wait a minute. Did Brandon give a rating? Oh, I'm sorry, Brandon. I didn't give a rating either. That I just
that's about it.
2. 2. I would agree with Brandon a 2.
No. Well, I was saying
that's the second time that you missed him.
No, I think the only
right over my slicked hair, right off the back.
I think the only fair way to judge this is judging it for what it was at the time, because let's be honest, we've seen better things come after that. So for what it was at the time, I'm going to give it a solid 4, and only because of the Attitude Era start pop.
I could see that just because I remember the conversation the next day at school after that.
Exactly.
That was my thing. Is I remember that too. I wasn't even into wrestling really yet, but I remember the conversations about it. And as
all
a
we
kid,
talked about at school was like, "Did you see that monster loogie dude?"
Yeah,
And
as a kid, those were the things that you loved about wrestling. Was those shocking pops at the end that just left you hanging. You're like, oh my god!
It's a 4, but Ahmed gives it a 1-point deduction.
I don't
He gives it a 1-point deduction.
So it would have been a 5, but because of Odd Man, we're down to a 4.
But I want to have a quick discussion with the group here before we move on to shameless plugs and close out the show. Since we didn't get to discuss Taker today, and I think he deserves maybe even an episode. So I think next week we pick a good Taker pay-per-view and discuss that. So does anyone have one off the top of their head, or they want to
Hell
take
in a
time?
Cell.
Ooh.
That's about the only thing that can fit Undertaker in my eyes when you talk about pay-per-view is if it's not WrestleMania, you think Hell in a Cell.
See, mine was going to be WrestleMania 25, so
it could be WrestleMania also, but I mean, any of those could work. You know what? I mean, wouldn't that him and Triple H had a Hell in a Cell match at WrestleMania? So
they did. I was at that one too. So anybody else got one or want to break the time?
I mean, I think Tommy hit the nail on the head.
I'll go. What year was that, Tommy? Hell in the Cell.
Which one?
Which one do we want to focus on? Which
the one with Mick Foley.
Yeah.
Well, that's the first. That's the
very first one.
That was
the very first one was him and Shawn Michaels. The very first Hell in a Cell was him and Shawn Michaels. But the second one was Mankind and Undertaker, and I think that was 96.
Is that a Raw? That's a Raw, right?
No, it was a King of the Ring.
King of the Ring. Okay,
King of the Ring
next week, King of the Ring 96. We'll discuss that. We're really gonna just focus on the Taker match. Because I really just want to talk about Taker and his legacy. And man's done it 30 years, one of the greatest to ever be in this business.
He still should be undefeated.
And then we'll probably also end up talking about his what they do with Survivor Series this weekend for him, because that's going to be a pretty cool event.
That's awesome.
So, all right, then it is that time where we shamelessly plug ourselves.
That
like my basic video?
It's just subtle, is it?
It's just subtle. I don't know what I was expecting, but it wasn't that.
I wasn't expecting that either.
I was waiting on Martha Stewart to be like, "This is how we plug in a plug-in." And just softly pull it by the neck.
I was waiting on Anne Murray to come out with a bitch looking ass, but that's me.
So it's that time of the episode where we can plug everything that we're doing and everything that's going on. And if Mr. Brandon disappears, know that his laptop is struggling.
Struggling, baby. Struggling. I need to get money for the building fund so I get a new one. If you will
get to the building fund, help my man Brandon out with a new laptop. Help him out.
So, Tommy, do we have a show tomorrow night on the Nonstop Pod? And it's going to be we're going to cover Full Gear and Revolution's pay-per-view that we just had.
Let me fall out. He got the name of the podcast correct this time. He didn't call it
I knew you were going to say that. I knew you were going to say
Central Time too. I even got the time right too. Look at that.
Oh, wow, I almost sent you a whole case of syrup there, buddy.
It's a boot.
That's right. We'll also have is Patrick coming on tomorrow, correct?
Yes.
Patrick Shane also be on there also with us to discuss Revolution. Don't forget the 29th. Revolution has another show, another live stream promo show. We blew it out the park last time. It held we had a lot of views, held a great audience. I got nothing but positive feedback for it. But also don't forget this Saturday, catch me and Justin Hicks on NCAA Top 25 Gridiron. We'll get your college football day started at 8 a.m. Central Time. I bet you Justin just loves that time. I have to call him sometimes. He'll say, "I'm up, Tommy D." Thanks for the wake-up call, sweetheart.
Mr. Will.
Yes, please join me on the Geek Gauntlet podcast this Saturday, 10 p.m. Eastern Time. Gene, myself, Shaw, we're going to come on with all the news. We're going to hit you with that Wonder Woman news. Come on HBO Max and and at the theater. Wow. Fastest hour in podcasting. Check us out. Geek Gauntlet, Saturday night, 10 p.m. Eastern.
Special guest with a special assignment. We're going to have a female on the Geek Gauntlet doing a segment on video games, reviewing the new PS4 and Xbox. It's going to be really interesting.
Don't look so depressed, Brandon. You're still the sexiest one here, buddy.
You're still the sexiest. You're still, Brandon. You will always be the panty dropper.
Panty dropper.
Baby, you ain't gotta tell me that, baby.
And then you can catch me, Tommy, Will, Brandon every Tuesday on the Huddle. This week we'll be talking about Week 11 in football. It is coming to an end. We're almost over. I can't believe this season has flown by so fast.
Sorry, we got basketball.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we got basketball coming. Yep.
Love basketball.
I just cannot
Raptors
get into basketball this year. Like I'm giving up on all sports. My Houston teams just suck. All the way.
Yeah, Harden said, "I've had enough of this shit." See ya, fellas.
Well, dude, okay, I'm not going to get all into this, but supposedly the Rockets are like, unless they can get what they feel they're worth, they will deal with the bad morale and keep them on the team.
Hey.
Yeah, because the rumors going around, they want Kyrie Irving too. So that's
they said they're not trading him. Well, supposedly directly, there's no way that they're coming to a deal between Brooklyn and Houston. So now they're working on a 3-way deal with another team.
No, but don't find that damn locker room killer down there in Houston.
Houston wants either Kyrie or KD or like a first-round pick. A couple of first-round picks.
Yeah.
So I mean,
maybe that's why they should ask Santa. Houston just needs first-round picks. All Houston teams need first-round picks.
KW got it right. Texas teams are just terrible all the way around. There's not a Texas team that's really doing good right now.
But guys, the most important shameless plug: check us out every Wednesday night for the greatest wrestling podcast in the world,
if you will,
baby. Join us right here, the Paradigm Shift.
The Paradigm Shift, 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. Be there or be square. We even accept Canadians.
Get to the
and we haven't said in a couple of weeks, but always still #Talking Shop. We're still trying to get Gallows and Anderson on this show. They had Talking Shop Mania last week. It was another huge success for them. Gallows and Anderson here in the Paradigm Shift needs to happen.
Get to the building fund.
And then, like always, give to the building fund. We appreciate the likes and the reactions. Please keep reacting to this video. Follow us on Facebook. Subscribe on YouTube. And keep a lookout because very, very, very if you want to get into the Cowboys, you got to turn into the huddle.
Turn into the huddle. We got to go.
Because I'll get into a 30-minute rant.
He's not lying.
I'm not lying. But give to the building fund. Check us out on all of our locations. We love you guys. We'll see y'all next week. Thank you.